So we're given a chart of values for two different functions, f of x and g of x, and we want to find a few different things. The first thing we want to find is the value of f of 0. So what f of 0 means is, what is the value of f of x when x equals 0? So what is f of x when x equals 0? So in other words, that's telling us that 0 is an x value. So we're going to go down in the column representing x and see when x is 0. So here's where x is 0. And we want to know, since it's an f of 0, what is f of x when x equals 0? Well, f of x in that column, right? Here's the f of x column. The value of f of x when x is 0, just look at where 0 and f of x meet up. They meet up right there at a value of 6. So we'll just say that f of 0 is 6. When it asks for g of 1, this means that x equals 1. We want to know what is g of x. Well, we look in the x column. Here's where x is positive 1. And we just look at the value of g of x, right? Here's our g of x column. Just look in that column for when x is 1. Those meet up at x equals 7. So our answer is g of 1 equals 7. The next one asks us for the x value when f of x equals 15. So we just look in our f of x column for 15. Well, when f of x is 15, our x value is 3. So our answer should be, the x value is 3. And if we want the x value when g of x equals 1, we just need to look in our g of x column for when it equals 1. Well, when g of x is 1, our x value is negative 2. And that's really all there is to this here. Let's look at this one. If we want f of 1, that means that we want f of x when x equals 1. So find where x is 1, and then look in the f of x column at where those match up. They match up right here at 6. F of 1 is 6. If we want g of negative 2, all that means is we want to know the value of g of x when x equals negative 2. So x equals negative 2. Look in the g of x column. It should be a value of 1. If we want the x value when f of x equals 2, the next one here, look in the f of x column and find 2, and then go over to find the x value there. So come over here, and you end up with x equals negative 1. And if we want the x value when g of x is 3, look at the g of x column and find 3, and then go over to the x value. The x value there is 0. So we'll do a couple more of these. If we want f of negative 1, that means we're looking for the value of f of x when x equals negative 1. So we go find where x equals negative 1, And then we look in the f of x column for the value. The value is -1. So f of -1 is -1. We'll do the same process for g of 1. G of 1 means what's the value of g of x when x equals 1? Well, go in the x column until you find x equals 1, and then look at what g of x is. It's -8. So g of 1 is -8. If we want the x value when f of x equals -17, look in the f of x column for -17 down here at the bottom. Okay? And just figure out the value of x. At that point, it's just 3. And if we want the x value when g of x equals 7, just go find where g of x in that g of x column is 7 and find your x value. X should be -2. So we've got one more here. We want to find f of -1. So we just mean what is f of x when x is -1. So we look in the x column for -1, and then we look over in the f of x column. Oh, it's -1 again. So f of -1 is -1. If we want g of 3, that just means find g of x when x equals 3. So find where x equals 3 and look over into the g of x column. It should equal 1. And our last two here, we want the x value when f of x equals -3. So look in your f of x column for -3, and then just look over at what the x value is. X is -2. And for our last one, we want the value of x when g of x equals 5. So look in the g of x column for 5, and look over at what the x value is. X should be -1. So that's all there is to finding the values of f of x or g of x in a chart, or finding the x value when f of x or g of x equals something in a chart.